The most important thing is that after the sacrifice, your pieces that are left on the board are very active. A common beginner mistake is to sacrifice their most active pieces, and then they're left with pieces that aren't doing much. Activity is some combination of the following two things. 1. General mobility influencing many empty squares. 2. Being in contact with important offensive or defensive points, often a weak pawn or king. Here are two instructive games on this topic. Artur Yusupov, playing as white, versus Vasil Ivanchuk, playing as black, Tal Memorial 1995, Riga. So this chapter of middle game decisions will be devoted to minor sacrifices ideas. So what do I want to say with minor sacrifices? This is a pawn, maybe two pawns, maybe an exchange. Why is it important? Because somehow minor sacrifice is always easier than these what I would call capital sacrifices. Somehow in my career I did not sacrifice too many pieces, but I sacrificed plenty of pawns, or sometimes in exchange. Because if you feel that position is right, then you sacrifice a pawn or two for maybe an exchange. You are not really sacrificing your house. So you are not, the risk is considerably lower. And here I have selected a number of examples of those kind of sacrifices, and the aim which you are trying to achieve. So I will start with one example. This is game between Yusupov and Ivanchuk. The game has been played in Tal Memorial, Riga 1995, and let's start off with opening moves. This is Queen's Gambit accepted. D4, D5, Knight f3, 6, C4, B takes C4, E3, A6, Bishop C4, C5. Obviously, White has all sorts of different variations here. Bishop B3 was Yusupov choice. Knight f6, castles. Black here has various main moves. Mate perhaps move B5 is the most played one. But here Ivanchuk is choosing Knight C6, also often played move. Queen E2. C takes D4. Rook D1. And here Ivanchuk does not want to play isolated pawn position. Obviously he can play move Bishop E7. Then after E takes D4, because I'm in such a position, obviously if he would like to play without isolated pawn to take by rook, it doesn't make too much sense because position is completely equal. So if you want advantage, you need to play with isolated pawn either here and then to develop light. You like to C3 and play this kind of position off, even with most people do ED4 castles, Knight C3, and just hope to have advantage in this isolated pawn position. Which, well, White has reasonable chances to get, and Black has to be careful that pawn break D5 does not come at the right moment. Ivanchuk doesn't want to play this kind of position. He plays move D3. Rook takes D3. Queen C7. And our position resembles with the pawn structure actually the former variation of a Queen's Gambit, when you develop Queen early to E2, and then you take with the vital C5 and you get a similar pawn structure. So here Rook takes D3, Queen C7, Knight C3, Bishop D6. We have here symmetric pawn structure. So it is quite clear that White, he needs to use his advantage in development, because White does have advantage in development at this particular moment. White did castle, and Black yet has to castle. So White has advantage in development, and which White needs to use if this advantage in development of White evaporates. Well, we have symmetrical pawn structure, and the draw will be the most likely result in this game. So, Yusupov, given his advantage in development, he takes space, pushy move E4. It is not only that he takes space, but he also generates a threat. Because does he have a threat? Yes, he does have a threat. For example, Black, he cannot trust castle, because he Black castles, White simply cannot be material. Dates on D6, Queen takes and E5. and white will have 2 pieces for rook. So, more or less, though the most not forced but the most logical move is move knight to e5 in order to prevent this pawn push. So knight e5. Knight e5, bishop e5 looks like that if the Ivanchuk is doing good business, because bishop is strong on e5. And it has prevented the e5 pawn push. And the next move is going to be Kosv. It looks like the black is doing basically very well. Here Artur Yusupov comes with a dynamic pawn sacrifice, aimed to open file, and he plays a beautiful move f4. Try to remember this, because this is a typical pawn sacrifice often seen in a similar position, so for Queen's Gambit accepted those, or if you ever get a similar kind of position. f4. White sacrifices a pawn in order to open a file and speed up his development further. Bishop f4, bishop f4, queen f4. And now, what white does, and this is probably what Ivanchuk underestimated. Ivanchuk was most probably thinking this is not a big deal because if rook f1, now queen takes the space which bishop was occupying on e5. And what's a big deal? Next move will be Kosv. Well, black collected a pawn in the process. Life is beautiful. But here Artur Yusupov does a brilliant job. He sacrifices another pawn to open the files to black in further, and to somehow discoordinate black's pieces. He pushes e5. Then after knight e7, plays move rook f1. I really love how Yusupov played this game. Queen takes e5, so Ivanchuk is now 2 pawns off. But now look at those files. Those files are open, rook c over king. Another file. Rook e3. Look what Yusupov did. This is move number 18, so only 4 moves to go with this position. Or better, maybe even 6 moves to go with this. Everything symmetrical, everything closed. Only 6 moves later, we have this situation. White sacrifice 2 pawns. Everything is open towards the black's king. Beautiful play. Queen d4. Trying to use this pin. Rook d1. All goes with the tempo. Queen a7, using this pin so you cannot sacrifice e6. Now, the question is whether or not to play move king h1 immediately, or first knight e4. Well, king h1 will need to be played because this rook will need to get away from the pin. Yusupov, I assume that maybe was not clear to him what happens in the case of king h1 knight f6. I think so. This is how somehow it looks to me. So he decided to play move knight e4 first. Well, that is a check. So castles. Allow move king h1. White is 2 pawns down. And this is also what Yusupov did. This is intuitive sacrifice. Because there is no forced win here. The white is having massive development advantage. And all white pieces are coordinating very well. But obviously, in this position when he decided to take a decision and to sacrifice 2 pawns in order to open files, Yusupov needed to trust his feeling. He seemed to need to trust his feeling that in this position, he will have enough compensation for 2 sacrifice pawns. And this is a beauty of intuitive sacrifice. This is a pure intuitive sacrifice. And he does have actually more than just a compensation. Ivanchuk needs to develop. In order to develop, he needs to move his knight. Well, he cannot move it to too many squares because, well, the beautiful square to move will be c5 in order to trade some pieces. But there is a problem. But can you spot the problem if you move knight c5? The problem is that I will give you hints. This king has no defenders. What can kill this king? Check. And you cannot take, because you will get mated. And if you do not take, well, you don't exactly have a moves, because well, on this move I have various moves. I think I can even take. And then mate along the h-file. So, the Ivan Troop plays move knight e5, logical move, he develops a knight. And now this knight f6 tactic is not working because knight is coming as a defender to his king. So knight e5, rook h3. Threat is obvious, threat is a double attack. Queen h5 hitting, for knight and a pawn. So knight, g6, queen h5. h6, it looks like that black has managed to somehow keep his stuff together. And somehow that black will manage development, and well, who knows, these two pawns might become important. How can Yusupov continue his attack with the great energy? Knight f6, he continues attack with the great energy. G takes f6. Queen h6, threat is mate in 1. Rook e8. Only move. I mean, here actually somehow, it's a pity. It's a pity that this masterpiece of Yusupov has been spoiled. After Yusupov played here move rook g3, and he spoiled his masterpiece. Because after queen f2, he had nothing better but to force to draw by perpetual track rook g6, fg6, queen c6, king f8, vh6, king f7, queen h7, endgame finish drawn by perpetual track. This is a pity, because in a diagram position, instead of in his position, instead of move rook g3, he had a much stronger continuation, a forced win. Can you spot this continuation? I will give you a hint. This bishop will play crucial role. At this moment, this bishop is not cooperating as an attacking piece, but it can cooperate and play crucial role. So how to get it done? First check. King f8. Now look at also all those pieces are totally out of play. Rook f3. Threat is to take and to mate. f5 cannot be played because this bishop is the power. Rook takes f5. And mate on f7. So king e7 only move, unfortunately for black. Queen g7. By the way, this cannot be allowed. For example, move like a b5 will not help because rook takes. Then I threaten queen g6. I also threaten to double, so position is going to collapse. This queen cannot come to rescue on time. So rook f3, king e7, and now I force again the sequence where this bishop is important. So queen g7, and after f5, rook takes f5, and again, mate on f7. So I love this game because it is what Yusupov played here. What he did is typical sacrifice, which we can see in similar positions. So, first sacrificing one pawn to open one file. And now sacrificing another pawn to open another file. e5. Rook f1. Queen takes, rook e3, and conducting the whole attack with absolutely great energy. And it is pity that this masterpiece of after Yusupov did not get crowned by victor. Viswanathan Anand, playing as white, versus Predrag Nikolic, playing as black, 5 candidates, Groningen, 1997. White is Vishy Anand, black is Predrag Nikolic. Game is played in was played at FIDE World Championship knockout in Groningen 1997. We have a line of French which is interesting, and a lot of people are playing it, so let's basically see it. E46, d4, d5, knight c3, bishop e4, Vinava d5, c5, a3, bishop c3, bc3, and now well, the main move is move knight e7, of course everybody knows it. But Fedor Nikolic loves to play move queen a5. At that time at knight e7 he was maybe the only person, well not only but one of the very few who were playing this. Nowadays actually this is quite a popular variation played by a lot of strong players. Bishop d2, the queen a4, queen g4. We have here an interesting moment because the main line nowadays, what is played by majority of strong players, is move king f8. Having this idea of a king defending himself. And White has various ways to now continue here. Move on, move is queen d1 to kind of admit two tempi loss, but to say, hey, you can't castle anymore, this king is wrong. But also moves like, for example, sacrificing a pawn, playing h4, saying, alright, take my pawn because it costs time, and this pawn was double anyway, and my bishop will work well. In this game, Fedor Nikolic plays move g6. Well, what is the advantage of disadvantage of move like g6? Disadvantage is obvious. Well, he's recurring his structure, and he gave his Dasko bishops up. My disadvantage is kind of very obvious, but what is the advantage? Well, the advantage is after he played move g6, his king is still staying on e8. Which means that he is going to win a pawn. Because now when I play move, c2 is hanging. And I play move queen d1, which is exactly what an aunt played. C takes d4. Now king is on e8, so basically if I take, you can take. Because compared to king f8 situation there is no check. So move g6 does have advantage. Well, the advantage is also that he will win a pawn. The question is, was it smart to weaken those squares and delay development just for the love of a pawn? And unhappily sacrifices queen d1 cd4. White is carrying better pawn structure. I mean, he doesn't have these scarab because he has sparrow bishops, and White does have some lead in development, so let's see how would this better out. Rook b1. Not easy decision as to what to play here for black. Black decided to play move d3. You know, he will take a pawn on a3, he will remain a pawn up, he wants White somehow to have for a time being anyway those double pawns. Other option was to play move a6, because okay, he needs to do something when Rook b1 is not just the developing move, it's because a powerful threat. So other move is a6, but after cv4, my d4, let's say knight f3, also his position with White has considerable lead in development. So, I don't know, it is not easy to say what is the best for black. Black played move d3, but anyway, I would, so in this position I would always rather play this position with White rather than collecting those miserable pawns. D3, bishop d3, queen a3, knight f3. Okay, we see here again, like in some other examples in this chapter of this DVD, that the pawn sacrifice which he agreed to, he agreed to, but entering this variation is of pure intuitive nature. Because there are no immediate killing threats from White side, and there is no, actually, any kind of equalizing situation from Black side, so White is hoping that his advantage in development and the pair of bishops and vacancies which Black created in his camp, all these weak dastras are going to be more than sufficient, or at least sufficient compensation for a pawn. And black is basically saying, well, pawn is a pawn. So let's see how it works. Queen c5. h4. In general, handy move, h6 castles. Because on one hand, black likes to play move h6 in order to stop move bishop g5. On the other hand, now black can never castle because it would hang. So, if it's a double idea white could play it or not to play it, it is tough to say, it has pros and cons. Castle 97. Rook e1. a6. So now the question is, okay, white is doing very well, all the pieces are developed. How for white to continue building up on his advantage? Because advantage in development is of temporary nature, so you need to use it as long as you have it. And Vishy uses it by opening up the position, so it is very instructive how Vishy plays his game. c4. Opening the position for his beautiful bishops. And, at some stage the position opens enough, this king will have problems. So c4. Pawn needs to be taken, because otherwise I will take on d5 or I will open up the position anyway. So, Prevlag is saying, well, okay, if I have to suffer opening up this position, I risk everything, let me at least eat something. So v takes e4. Bishop e4. Threat is very obvious. Threat is to hit queen with the bishop b4. And to have this fantastic bishop and queen is also almost earning all the squares. So c3. Trying to at least limit this bishop coming through this powerful diagonal. Bishop e3. Queen c4. Bishop d4. Knight c5. Okay, for the time being black is keeping his stuff together. Now comes a rook with rook e3. Rook e3 is forcing black to take on e4 because they want to take on c3. On one hand, you may say with knight e4, rook e4, the black is doing a good deal because he's defending side, he's behind in development, and he's some material up, so you may argue that trading some pieces is a good idea. On the other hand, this knight was also sort of a defender. Queen is a problem. The situation is not easy for black. Bishop d7. And now white plays a nice move, rook e3. He's back to basics, he wants to take on c3 and to enter with his rook on a7. Black does, I think, the most logical move. He plays knight e7 because he's behind in development, he wants to develop the knight and have occasional possibility to perhaps castle. If bishop c6, for example, or rook c3, queen d5. Now it's maybe important to mention that such moves are not working because I can also sacrifice a piece. If I don't find anything better, I can just sacrifice a piece. At a mate. And you can act at m20 with another rook to p7. And if you move light, okay, it will lead to a disaster. So, this cannot be played. And if on rook c3, queen d5, then for example rook d3, queen d8, I like this picture now. Bishop b6, queen moves to e7, rook d6, and now black cannot make a single move, not a single piece can move. And it's even nicer that this pawn is on a6 because actually here knight h6 would not be a bad move. And white is here having all sorts of winning threats. Knight takes knight e4 and collecting on c6 being the one, but also many moves because this king is horrible, black simply cannot develop. So rook e3, Knight e7, black is developing. Rook c3, queen d5. Okay, black is almost there. He's still pawn up. No, he wants to castle. He wants to maybe now move his bishop. Situation doesn't look so bad. What can be black's problem here? Well, black's problem here is a little bit unfortunate queen. And maybe 7th rank. White's plays it very precise. Of course, these positions when you're having initiative but you are a pawn down, you better play it precise. Rook c5. Queen e4, only one move, and now Bishian to send a 7th. Rook c7. b5. Needs to be played because you cannot play move bishop c6, because then it becomes obvious as to why did White play this Sichenzug, rook c5, on his way to c7. Because now if you play move bishop c6 because this queen is on e4 and not on d5, I have this very simple execution. Check. With a checkmate on e7. So rook c7 and b5. Bishop c5, very logical. A rook b4 was perhaps even stronger. But, okay, for a human being it's not so easy to understand because you want to move the bishop and to wing. For example, if knight c6, bishop c3. Queen moves, has to play to the move to d5, takes, push, takes, and White will end a piece up. Let's say takes, White can also take on c6 and take a rook, but this is more precise. White ends a piece up, Black does not have enough with his pawns, and Black cannot try to keep a piece, because if he tries to keep peace he will simply get mated. Checkmate will come. Rook b4 if queen d5, then let's say White can open position further. c4, bc4, rook c4. This king is not getting anywhere. And you cannot castle, because obviously this is going to cost a piece. But bishop c5 move played up by Anand is so very strong. Black is in a difficult situation here. The only move for Black was probably move queen d5 to stop queen from entering. But after queen e1, Black is in a bad shape, objectively, because let's say rook c8. To try to trade this a strong rook c8, bishop c8. Looks like Black is almost saved, but the problem is terribly weak king and terribly weak dash trash. So for example, takes on e7, king takes, queen b4, king e8, and now let's say rook b3. Black cannot coordinate, and this rook and the king has only one pawn for all this misery, and White should win the game. Black played move knight e5, which looks like more logical. But there is one very big problem with knight e5. Can you spot the problem? I give you a hint. Focus on the screen. Focus on the screen. Queen almost has no squares. What can you do? Focus on the queen. Rook b4 looks like a brilliant move, right? Because if knight takes, you're gonna deliver a checkmate. Well, is it brilliant? Maybe not, because there is a queen b4, and bishop b4, knight c7, and all out of sudden queen to d6 is not exactly producing immediate mate. So do I have some other moves? Wishy does find another move, same kind of idea. Rook d7, king d7, rook b4. And now simply queens drop, because, well, queen cannot move because of g4. So, queen b4 is the only move. Bishop b4. White is having massive material advantage, I mean queen and the piece for the two rooks, but also Black's problem is that this king problem is far from being solved and game the last few more moves. Rook h8, bishop d6, rook c4. Well, now time to improve the right. Knight e2, rook d4, c3. More moves here because of, okay, since I move knight, the queen is open, so if you take, let's say, this is terrible news. Everything hanging. So, on c3, black played move rook d3. There are many different ways to win this position, but it's nice how one plays c4. Because you cannot take, obviously, because, okay, this check will kill you. And if you don't take, question is where do you go? If you go for by knight, and queen c2. So he took, con d2, he goes to con d2, queen d2, b takes c4. Queen takes h6, and black resigned because white is having massive material advantage, and this king is again far from being solved. I like very much this game of a land because it entered to, let's say if you start from this kind of position which was intuitive, the sacrifice. The white has handled the initiative extremely well. Handled the initiative really extremely well. And black's king did prove a problem. White had a better coordination of pieces. And pay attention that once you have advantage in development, you need to open up the position. If you do not need to open up a position, well, this advantage will disappear, because advantage in development is of temporary nature, and a land correctly judged that by sacrificing a second pawn, he opens up the position for his bishops, and he played it very well and executed, and he brought him a nice victory. And I think that this game is rather instructive, not only for e4 players or French players, but in general to somehow see how well one of the best chess players in history handles the initiative and the feeling for his pieces, and the general development and the harmony. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe.